Fox News host Bill O'Reilly and his network taking some heat now over new revelations involving alleged sexual harassment by the conservative commentator. Last week, the New York Times reported O'Reilly and Fox News paid out some $13 million in settlements over about a dozen years to 5 different women who all claimed that O'Reilly sexually harassed them. The backlash has been harsh and expensive. More than 50 companies, including BMW, Mitsubishi Motors, Kline, have all pulled their ads from O'Reilly's primetime show, The O'Reilly Factor, though they're not away from Fox News altogether. In a statement, AllState said, and we quote, "Inclusivity and support for women are important AllState values. We are concerned about the issues surrounding the program, and we have suspended our advertising." But if O'Reilly's losing advertisers, he still has the president on his side. In an interview this week with the New York Times, President Trump called the Fox News host, quote, "a good man." He went on to tell the paper, and we quote, "Personally, I think he shouldn't have settled. I don't think Bill did anything wrong." But Congresswoman Maxine Waters, who was the subject of what many believe were sexist and racist comments recently made by O'Reilly, had a very different take on Fox News, Trump, and O'Reilly.
It shouldn't be in America that you can sexually harass women and then buy your way out of it because you're rich. If they continue to do this in the way that they have done, they need to go to jail.
Well, meanwhile, O'Reilly is out with a statement, and it said in part, and we quote, "I'm vulnerable to lawsuits from individuals who want me to pay them to avoid negative publicity. I'm a father who cares deeply for my children and who would do anything to avoid hurting them in any way. And so I have put to rest any controversies to spare my children." Well, still with us on our panel, Jamora Burley, Mary C. Curtis, Rashad Robinson, and Allison McGevna. Now, Rashad, I'll start with you because your Color of Change organization launched a petition calling on advertisers to dump O'Reilly's show. It's been working, but O'Reilly's been under fire for years. What changed? Is it just a New York Times article?
I mean, the New York Times article is different because Fox News has, in some ways, sort of admitted that there's a problem by making this payout. We've been in an active campaign for a couple of years, pushing back against corporations, really sort of heating up during the time in which the court case surrounding domestic abuse and his divorce was happening. And so over time, the campaign has ebbed and flowed. A lot of it has been about behind-the-scenes conversations with corporations, similar to when we ran the Glenn Beck campaign several years ago, where we forced over 200 advertisers to leave Glenn Beck and force that show off the air. So we've been using a similar model of both mobilizing people on the outside to demand corporations leave through petitions, phone calls, showing up at corporations, and at the same time, really making sure the media understands what's at stake. We have nothing to say to Fox. We know that they're willing to make as much money as possible off of sexual harassment, off of racist ideology. The question is for major corporate brands, are they willing to put their brand, when Bill O'Reilly says, now a word from our sponsors, are they willing to have their brands be the brands that allow for that platform to exist?
Is this a free speech issue at all? Because of course, no one who's sane supports sexual harassment. On the other hand, you don't like O'Reilly because of how he stands on the issues, right?
So I don't necessarily have an opinion about his political ideology. I don't agree with it. But there's a way in which going on air and lying about being attacked by protesters during the South Central LA riots and using that to sort of race bait is very different than having a political opinion. It's using sort of white supremacy or race baiting as a legitimate form of the political debate. At the end of the day, though, many will say this is about free speech. But freedom of speech is not freedom from the consequences of speech. Color of Change is not trying to lock Bill O'Reilly up for the things he says that we don't actually like. We are actually saying that freedom of speech does not mean that you get to have a TV show that gives you millions and millions of dollars a year. Because if that's the case, we should all have our own TV shows, and we should all make millions and millions of dollars a year off of being able to say what we want to say. Bill O'Reilly has a right to say whatever whatever he wants to say. And Color of Change, the hundreds and thousands, millions of members who stand with us, other organizations have a right to protest.
All right.
Tell corporations.
Rashad, I want to let some of our other panel members get in here.
I would just say this is beyond just freedom of speech. We are sending a message to girls and young women every single day by the programs we allow to air, by the people who are harming those communities. And so I think it goes beyond just saying that you don't agree with Bill O'Reilly's political opinion. It's saying you don't agree with what he does behind when he's off the air and what he does in relationship to employees and how Fox supports that culture, that rape culture in many ways. And so I think that when the same thing that happened with Bill Cosby, I mean, they took his entire show off the air, even a show that he's no longer is producing or involved in. And so I think you have to send a larger message by sponsors that saying we don't support this rape culture in many ways because of what it would say to our daughters and our consumers.
Mary C. Curtis.
As a parent, when I saw that statement, I thought, oh, Bill, did you have to drag your children into this, putting that on them? It was not a good look. And we're talking about Fox and the whole culture. This is on the backdrop of all the lawsuits. And looking at that, and this is just a piece of it. You know, his ratings are still up. But as Rashad said, if it's the bottom line, that's when they'll start to look.
Well, I thought it was very telling that the defense from Fox was very muted this time around. When the advertisers start to pull out, in the past, they say, you know, Bill O'Reilly's our guy, we love him, he's doing a great job. This time it's like, we're taking a look at this. Allison McGovern, you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this has been, you know, decades of these allegations and these kinds of criticisms of him. So I think that, it comes to the point where it starts to be enough is enough. And I think the network has just been through so much in the last year and a half with, you know, relation to these lawsuits and things like that. So I think it was very important for them to, you know, start to pull back from this extremely problematic character, even if he is making them millions of dollars. I do want to say that, you know, it's really disappointing but not surprising to see the president be endorsing him, considering how the president has made his thoughts on female anatomy and, you know, whether or not he can touch it very clear.
He's
so
again,
exactly. It's really just disappointing and disgusting, and he should not be commenting on this. There are much bigger problems than whether or not he supports Bill O'Reilly.
A peaceful protest turned deadly. 37-year-old black man was shot and killed by Baton Rouge police. His hands are in the air, and you still get shot by the cops.
Oh my God, please don't tell me he's dead.
We're not gonna let hate define us.
Race is a big part of this.
If truly all lives matter, then all lives need to matter equally. What we require is action. What we require is accountability. We understand that black lives do matter, and we will keep focused on this issue.
NewsOne Now, every weekday morning at 7 on TV1.